Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I want to talk about the, I guess the 29.8, I guess 30 gigabyte RAM song. Yes, I know. Here's my resource monitor, which I'm pretty sure you can see, and you can see that this is how long it took it to load up all of the samples I have in this track, which are all of the string samples in East West, Quantum Leap, Symphonic Orchestra, like not all of them, but all the main groups. So like the cellos, this is the contrabass, cellos, violas, and then the two violin groups. And then all set to the master key switching, which means that they have all of their articulations, which is this business. If you're not familiar with the play architecture, it's kind of like Contact. Originally they used to make Contact libraries as well, but this is these are key switches. These are each of these blue lights or thingies keys will and will load up different articulations for the instrument. And such. The way that East West normally works is that it streams from the hard drive because the libraries are rather large. As you can tell by the fact that I'm only using the strings and I'm in all my RAM. I'm also in all my RAM because I'm using Superior Drummer with a fairly large kit, and you can see it's actually up to 6 gigs of RAM, not in 16-bit mode, so it means 24-bit samples. And the reason why this is happening is because I have these instruments and I have loaded every single mic position, including bleed on regular mic positions. So like I talked about bleed before about how Superior Drummer works, where So here you can see the crash cymbals actually in every single mic, including like the kick drum mic. You can't hear it. So that's what the crash cymbal sounds like in the kick drum. So that's why that happens. And this is largely just an exercise to see if I can even use all my RAM, because I rarely do. The reason why I have 32 gigs of RAM is for recording projects, not for this kind of stuff, because I also specifically made a streaming disk for this, and it's two 512 SSDs in RAID 0 for a terabyte of SSD, so that the East West can stream from the disk and not fuck up. Because on a regular hard disk, if you started to use this much, and then say you wanted to do this for all the brass and woodwinds and all that, and the choirs and percussion, you'd have a bad time. So loading in the RAM is useful for that sort of stuff as well. For this track, if you haven't heard it, there's a link in the description for the SoundCloud. You can go check it out. This track does not use this much RAM. Like, it doesn't do that. Like, I have various, you can see those weird stray notes. Those are the key switching articulations, and I don't even use like 20% or maybe 30% of all the articulation. So I probably am wasting a huge amount of RAM doing this. But this is again a test. However, the Superior Drummer totally is like using all of the RAM that it has. The reason I'm using Superior Drummer is because I thought it'd be an interesting exercise instead of using East West's own Storm Drum, which is what I have in my Composers collection. Storm Drum 2. They're already up to 3, but I have Storm Drum 2. Anyway. I mean, the reason why I haven't loaded in brass and stuff is because I don't have the RAM to do that. But like I said, if I had loaded just the individual articulations that I'm actually using, which I can, like if I went in here and I looked at all the ones that I'm using for what I've written I went into the player and then unloaded all of them. Like, see, these are all the articulations that are loaded. If I got rid of them all, except for the ones that I'm using, I probably I'd only be using like 10 gigs, like max. So the way that East West works is that you load up a thing. I have a thing here, and then you can set up the MIDI port and then the output. Some of them are set individually, but I actually in Play 4 you actually have a mixer now, and I load for lots of these. I load close and surround, and I mix the two in the mixer. So that also inflated the amount of RAM usage, because normally I only have one like mic position, which is what these are. We have close, full, and surround. Like that's what that's for. And the way that you do this, if you go into the main menu setting, there's this thing that says stream from disk, which by default is on. But for this time, I set it for it to be off. And that's why. I had something else I was going to talk about this. About that, whatever. This is just me digging around. Yeah. Well, if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. I guess I can talk about the mixing. So I went kind of light on this. I routed all the not main mic elements of the superior drummer into one thing, and then I tried to sidechain it, and it didn't work. It didn't work out so well, and so I didn't do it. And then I EQ'd it slightly. It's going into a Maximus, which is very like it's emphasizing the low end because I want the big boomy kind of cinematic thing to go down. I mean, these aren't cinematic samples, so making it work that way is possible, but it doesn't. It's not as it's not as good as if I were using like actual cinematic percussion. But it could be good for itself. And then all the string elements are just going straight to the master, which has a convolver, which is got a little bit of reverb going on. Going into an EQ, which is not doing much, and then into a Maximus, which is only very slightly pushing things back past 0 dB. Which was hard for me to do that. And the thing about it though is that this is basically considered soundtrack music. This is a score, and it's got score elements of the orchestra expectation. And this sort of stuff is the kind of stuff that you basically just want all the headroom in any universe for. And this is because you pretty much only ever hear these in environments where it's gonna be mixed with itself and the other elements in a movie. And that's all. You're not going to listen to other things next to it. Like you're not going to have to worry about that kind of thing. Like with music, you play one track and you play another track, you play another track. With an OST in a movie, it's like a mix. It's like a pre-mix for the whole hour, full length of the movie, hour and a half, 90 minutes. And that being the case, you want all the headroom in the world because people can just turn it up, and they do in movie theaters. You turn them way up, that kind of thing. So you don't want to crush the dynamic range so much. And in fact, if you go listen to lots of like for example, like when I made this, I referenced lots of Hans Zimmer, and if you look at if you open up the Windows little volume mixer, it'll show you like what the peaking is at, and it's usually peaking about half. Like it usually stays at about half. So I'm pushing it. I am pushing it. But that's just because I like to push things. That's fine. And this is not any kind of serious work, so I don't care. But I couldn't push it too far, otherwise it would have ruined the point. I might expand this into something real at some point, with disk streaming enabled and all that kind of stuff. So that I don't have to waste all the RAM in the universe. And the reason why this works in FL is because FL has bridging. And this is actually a bridged plugin, which means that it's not using any of FL's RAMs. You can see 270 megabytes is not happening. If I were running the 64-bit version of FL, I could just load this in natively in 64-bit, and you would see all the RAM being loaded. But I don't need to do that because the bridge is fairly good. And if you've been having issues with Play, East West's Play, and you have not gotten Play 4, specifically if you have not gotten the latest update for Play 4, you should get it. Because contrary to common sense, it's actually way better. It actually works. It's functional. It's like the greatest decision in the universe to use Play 4 versus Play anything else. So a lot of that has enabled this to work. So like, what's funny is that loading in the RAM wouldn't even be possible for lots of stuff. Like I ran out of space just doing the strings, but I couldn't even load one of the master piano patches in East West Quantum Leap pianos because it's like 33 gigs for the whole master patch. I can't load that into RAM, so I have to stream that from the disk. But like other things like, you know, if I had just like a string articulation, it'd probably be a couple hundred megs just by itself. And why waste streaming from your disk on something that you can load into your, you know, your RAM? If you have the RAM. If you don't have the RAM, then obviously stream from disk. That's the point. That's the point of streaming from disk. It's because this is an unbelievably large library. In fact, let's go see how big it is. Orchestra Platinum. 192 gigs. And I'm not using, I don't have, you know, this is just for, that's everything. That's everything that's in there. That's not the choirs. That's not pianos. That's not Storm Drum. Let's go into pianos. Let's go into samples, Bossendorfer. What you got? 80 gigs. So. And there is also, I think, a 16. Yeah, see right now everything's at bit disk 24, and I could go into 16-bit mode, and that would reduce it a lot. In fact, the 80 gigs and the 192 gigs are because we had 24-bit and 16-bit waves. So that's, you know, take that into consideration when we consider how big the libraries are. But they're still pretty goddamn big. Like in a world where we're used to, you know, contact libraries that aren't even a little that large. That's what we have to, you know, consider. Same thing with Superior Drummer. That when we look at how big the main directory is, Superior Drummer has 16-bit and 24-bit RAM or WAV files of the same samples. This is the point of that. The idea is that if you don't need a dynamic range, you can just load in smaller samples and have save space and save, you know, that kind of stuff. Anyway, if you have any questions about any of that business, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day.